What's the worst scandal to happen at your school? History teacher disappeared in the night with the French teacher's wife, and the other French teacher made national news for sexually abusing boys. Probably the time a girl gave a guy a BJ in the bathroom. The guy filmed it and sent it to his friend. His friend sent all around the school. Eventually the police had to get involved because the one guy was guilty of distribution of child pornography. My high school guidance counselor ducked a science teacher's wife and everyone knew about it. They got a divorce. Both teachers still work at the same school to this day, and students will never ever let it go. The story has been handed down from year to year. Kids are brutal. We must never let our history die, must we? I wonder if history repeated itself or if it was a one-time thing. The lunch lady was having sex with students and buying them alcohol. A teacher had an affair with the students. She was arrested and released on bail. Then a few days later she sent an email to other teachers saying it wasn't an affair but that she was actually being raped by the student and blackmailed. She even attached screenshots of texts. Later that day, she murdered her husband and committed suicide. Edit: Whoa, this is really blown up. A few people have linked articles in the comments if you are curious. A kid in my senior year short story class, who sat directly behind me, was charged with the stabbing, beheading and burning of one of his friend's drug dealer. I remember the day like it was yesterday, sitting in my short story class when my teacher came in tears because she just heard the news. Students didn't find out about it until later. I actually have a friend who testified in his trial because he purchased the murdering materials at the hardware store she worked at. Crazy, man. Did some Googling. Is this in Michigan? Sure is. When in middle school, the school forced us to give our phones to the vice principal, and they would stay there locked during the day. They got stolen. Around 120 smartphones said it. Changed president to principal, please don't bully me anymore, Lamau. This locking up can backfire. One year we got together and all agreed to set an alarm on our phones for the same time, at max volume. After that they just said the phones had to be turned off though. Nope, should have set them 2 to 5 minutes apart so they don't go quiet at the same time. Some of them will have gone to snooze by the time they realize what's going on and disabled the alarms, so you'd still get them going off at random times afterwards. The Harlem Shake was a craze. We had an RE teacher who desperately enjoyed being the popular teacher, so he got in on the craze. Invited 40 pupils from my year to his classroom at lunch and filmed his own Harlem Shake video, which in itself would have been against safeguarding rules. Thing is, he also taught sex ed, so everyone got into his cupboard before the start of the video for props. The video was essentially a group of 14-year-olds throwing dildos and condoms around the room while he, of his own accord, grinded on a life-size cutout of the Pope. He was suspended under investigation for half a year but surprisingly kept his job. He was a lot more professional when he returned. While he, of his own accord, grinded on a life-size cutout of the Pope. When you Sinead O'Connor yourself. Kid in my class sent an email to the White House, threatening to kill Socks, the Clintons' cat. Secret Service showed up a few days later after they tracked down the computer. Edit to add, link to the article, postbulletin.com. First week of high school. P class, the first section was swim. Wasn't my class, but the class after. This kid was playing a game with his friends in the water. Who could hold their breath the longest. He was going up for air and hit head on the pointy part of the gutter, and never made it to the surface. Friends didn't notice, teacher didn't notice. Eventually football players coming back to the locker rooms noticed. He ended up dying. Teacher was fired, although I wouldn't fully blame him as he was attending and teaching kids who didn't know how to swim or weren't strong swimmers. One adult for over 60 kids. That's the school's fault. I understand the teacher not noticing, but the friends who were directly competing with the kid didn't notice. Must have thought he was pretty darn good at breath holding. Student brutally murdered his parents. He was a friend and co-captain of the soccer team. His mom was my English teacher. Story. This one is incredibly sad. Would it be okay if I get more information as far as the school so I can read articles on it? It was a long time ago, 1980s. Here is an article on it. The 30-ish theater teacher ran off with a recent graduate. I was kind of pals with the student during a play the spring before the scandal, and she hosted the cast party where in retrospect, they seemed a little cozier than appropriate. As much as I'm dying for the inside scoop, I can't imagine friending her on social media and asking, so what was up with you and Mr. It has to be done if you want to know. During middle school, a few kids sold weed and someone that bought some smoked it in the building, which was just stupid. The kid that sold it to him didn't want to get in trouble, so he pulled the fire alarm so people wouldn't find the kid. We all got to go home afterwards. Honestly, that's some pretty quick thinking. Obviously not very responsible, but the kid that pulled the fire alarm had some pretty sharp self-preservation instincts. Plus, if he got crap for pulling a false alarm, he can legitimately say that he saw smoke. Big brain. When the religion teacher cheated on her husband with the math teacher. A girl in my middle school was telling people she had a hit list of people she was going to kill. Got caught with the list, and was sent to a hospital for a while. She came back a few years later in high school. Edit, seems like a lot of people had a similar occurrence in school. This was in Michigan. I also had a hit list in middle school because I was a dumbass. It was a group of about 30 guys that would come to school and play a kind of tag game. If you were tagged during the day, you were assassinated and the game was over until the next day. My dumbass made a hit list with everyone's name on it. Needless to say, this alerted the principal. Edit, we got a talking to, but we weren't in serious trouble. We used to play a similar game using camera phones when they first came out. The kill was made by taking a photo without the victim being aware of it. Lots of us acting strangely in town, looking over shoulders and ducking behind parked cars. No list, but we were given a bit of a talking to as the college thought there was some intricate form of bullying going on. 2 things. Both in middle school. 1. I was at home on a Sunday watching the news with my mom when all of a sudden my 6th grade teacher's mugshot showed up and it said that her and her husband were pulled over and the police found like 6 pounds of high-grade weed, lead to a search warrant for their home, and they literally slept on an inflatable mattress. The whole house was a grow-up. She did look like a hippie, but I don't understand, she was not mellow at all. She was a bitch. 2. In 8th grade, one of my friend's parents had cancer. He thought it was a good idea to bring some of their meds to school and hand them out like candy. These were strong meds, and not all of them were pain pills. At least 5 kids overdosed, 2 of them had seizures, no one died thankfully. Edit, I know my grammar isn't the best, I'm no English major, but goddamn people, this is Reddit, not my English paper. I still get where you're coming from though, so I fixed it. Kind of. First one quite funny lol, second lucky no one died. Long story short, the principal got arrested for hiding cameras in the bathroom. This was back in elementary. He was a total ducking creep. What the duck, shocked at how many pedo stories there are. Well, honestly, there aren't that many things that qualify as worst scandal. Many interesting things happened, not so many of them caused shit to fly. Hell, if I hadn't seen it I would never have known a teacher broke up a fight by running outside brandishing a hammer. We had a bomb scare that evacuated the school. And the boat cruise company we liked to use for grad finally issued a permanent ban when someone unbolted a toilet tank and threw it overboard. But I wouldn't really count any of it as a big scandal. Give me a board funneling tons money or a pedo and that's going to get you an answer. Anything else is probably minor or getting covered up. I was in 4th or 5th grade and someone sketched in the middle school bathroom not to go on school Friday or I will bang bang. This was then brought to the attention of the county and state police and we didn't have school that day and the police searched everyone's lockers for a firearm. Edit, this was in Pennsylvania. They were never caught and I do not believe they found a weapon. This was also at Derry Area Middle School while I was at Grandview for elementary. Wow, how old is that? I'm from UK, so not familiar with grade system, like 78 years old. 9 to 11 years old. Still bad FFS. We had a few. Some standouts. Student hid a pregnancy from her parents. She ended up giving birth at home and killed the baby. Teachers sexually harassed students. Students engaged in sexual acts at the nearby church, where all our masses occurred, and we, the student body, were then banned for having our masses at the church. Edit, a few people are mentioning some cheerleader who had been on the news. This was the early 2000s, it did not have news coverage, didn't even go beyond our school, and our school did not have cheerleaders. Edit 2, this was in Canada. Edit 3, I've learned through this thread that this is not an uncommon occurrence, and my heart hurts.